name's Tom Atkinson. I am the Great Ball Contraption coordinator. I love Great Ball Contraption. So we're going to go around and talk about each module briefly. We can start with this one. This one is still in prototype stage. You can tell by the colorful variety of brick that I have here, and the fact that if you stand here and watch it too long, it'll start breaking. So let's move on very quickly on that one. This is more of a very simple up and down platform where the balls roll into the middle, and then the middle goes up, and then they roll on to the next one. Very simple, one motor, a bunch of gears, so on and so forth. And we have a counter, which is run by two NXTs. And the neat feature about this counter is that it has a save and restore function, so that the number can be saved, shut everything off, come back tomorrow and restore it and start from where we left off. So we move on to this up and down module, which has been around for a number of years. It's slowly gotten more reliable as it's frustrated me in shows, and I've had to rebuild portions of it. It now seems to be working pretty well. The really tricky part is this toggle here, which the springs and the switch and everything now makes it work better with two springs and the switch, and running the thing as fast as you can, and it goes on. And the cool thing about this one, I'll even show this, is you can wrap this around and let it recirculate if something downstream breaks. Okay. So it's a very useful feature. There's several modules that have that recirculate. So we move on to a simple pusher. It has old style motors and gears in it that pushes the balls into the next module. This is I believe this is an Akiyuki design. It's been modified and built by Brian Alano. Basically winds the balls up to the top, and then they can come down and move on to the next module. This next module here, where the balls kind of serpentine themselves up, we're going to see a bunch of that coming up soon. This is the first one. This is a design that is currently being contemplated for June's Brickworld workshop. Still up in the air. So that feeds into a conveyor, a simple conveyor system. It has a kind of an unusual mechanism here to keep the balls from jamming. Then we go from there into a whole string of these serpentine modules that kind of go up by, I think, 4 bricks every time until he gets up to the top here. Move into a simple spinning disc that balls go into a slot, and then it gets spun up. Goes into a ball pump, and there's actually, now we're going to have a whole series of ball pumps too. So here's a ball pump here, and actually, if we could take a minute. Oh, never mind, he ran away. I was going to get Mr. Hassenplug in here, who was one of the original conceptualizers of this whole thing. And he's being very sneaky over there. And you know this is going to show up on YouTube. So, since you're being difficult, Steve, we'll move on. Another ball pump, which feeds a very large serpentine, which brings the balls up significantly higher than most modules, and then drops into this candy machine, a gumball machine. And if you get a view from this side, you can really see it. It really does act like a gumball machine. And that then feeds into another pump, which goes into this series of letters which the balls flow through. Then from there, we go into another pump, which feeds another pump. Lots of pumps. Which goes across this beautifully sculpted landscape. All sorts of lush vegetation and water with waves and so on and so forth. And it's kind of funny, the balls go really fast on the dry land and slowly on the water, which is interesting. And then we go into another one of these spiral, not sure what you call this, but the ball goes up in a spiral. And that feeds a ramp. And as you can see, there's a mechanism here that kind of holds the balls until you get 2 or 3 of them. And then they kind of race down the ramp. It's kind of fun. And then we go over to this ball shooter, which is my personal oldest module. Been around for a long time, and I'm sure Steve would have words to say about this one. But this one is, it's never been perfect because this mechanism that shoots this ball works very well some of the time. So after it goes up there, it comes down and through all the various things, wraps around, and goes on to the next module, which I believe is probably the oldest module there is ever. This is number 1 module ever made by Steve Hassenplug, the guy hiding behind the camera right now.
We can't get him on camera right now, but he's there.
Which moves on to a new module, which is a small, slow, kind of a stepping module, which feeds into a large module that is actually one of my favorites, and Steve's going to get all smiley on this one because this is Steve module. And the interesting thing about this, those of you who are really familiar with LEGO will know what a K8 box is. This module was designed by building a frame that fit perfectly inside of a K8 box, and then the module was built inside of it. And it's also a very interesting mechanism, and a mechanism is from Akiyuki. So from there we go into another one of these spinning wheels that lets balls go in to a slot and then rotates up. And that goes to another conveyor, which is brings them up very slowly, subtly, and then launches them out the top. And then that dumps into, this is new, where we have these are kind of modular. So this is there's actually 4 modules like this, and that all have motors, and this is an unmotorized one that is, we just drop it on top, and the gear train is picked up in the back here, so that it's being driven by the one under it. Theoretically, we could keep going.
Yeah, you can just higher and higher.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's one of the things we realize is as more and more modules, we start to run out of table space. So we started talking about going vertical. So this now then feeds into a brick-built conveyor, which is this module's been around for a while, but it's just been revamped, rebuilt. From there we go into a slow blue steps. This is called blue steps. It says right on it. And this is another very old module, and again feeding another small, very small. That's a little module that is also a stepper. And then from there we go into what I call, this module is second module I ever made, and I call it Perpetual Motion because the balls go around. Half of them go around and around, and then when they come up this side, the right-hand side, they will come down and go out and go on to the next module. From here we move into a series of modules that are by somebody who's new to GBC. So he's got 4 modules here in a row. They all seem to be working pretty well, or 3 modules in a row, sorry. This one is a lever that flips up. This one is a big flap that scoops them up. And this one is a normal, simple stepper. Feeds into another simple stepper, which then feeds into a Archimedes screw. And this is a copy of Philo's design, which is now getting close to 10 years old.
Okay.
And we move into another very old module, which is a stepper. This has been around for probably about 10 years too. And then from there we go to this bridge contraption, where this bridge is designed to carry a train across the gap as well as the balls. And we're not using the train portion of it right now. We're just using it to get the balls across the gap. And from there we go to this module this is another new module run by EV3. And this shows a distribution of balls. As they go up, they start to collect, and it will collect balls for a certain amount of time. And you can see it starts to create like a statistical distribution of balls. And then after a period of time, it says, okay, there's enough in there, and it will dump them. And then if you hang on a second, I think we're almost there. Maybe. We'll give it another second.
This is one of my favorite modules, actually. I love the color of it. You can watch as the balls come down and hit the pegs and everything, and that's really awesome.
It's definitely a colorful module. I both give them a hard time and love it at the same time. Okay, it's about to dump. Whoa. There you go.
Perfect timing.
And so he designed it so that half of the balls will recirculate, because this is capable of dropping them down faster than 1 ball per second. And the other thing that's kind of unique about this is that when it dumps the balls, it dumps more than the 30 that are part of the spec. So he built a special module to handle that large batch of balls afterwards. So because of that, this is one module, because this thing exceeds the spec. So we had to say, okay, this is one module. From there, this goes a conveyor that feeds into, holy cow, an example of the Brickworld workshop module from last year. And that feeds into a different module, which is a brick-built conveyor belt driven by effectively a 3-tooth gear, which is definitely a unique. I like this module a lot. The colors and the motion of it is pretty neat. And all the gearing and the motor and everything is all inside, which is kind of a neat thing and also kind of a pain. So when something jams or breaks, or you got to take a lot of stuff apart. To a small Ferris wheel where the balls are scooped up and brought over the top and dumped into another module, which I don't know what to call this. Parts of it are designed to run really slowly in parallel, and then it puts the balls into a stream and then runs them up a brick-built conveyor that's running on square gears, which is kind of an interesting, different approach. And then onto this very colorful conveyor belt. This old-style chain conveyor brings up the balls, and the ones that come up on this side will come back down and recirculate, and the ones that come up on this side will come down here and go on to the next module. From there, we go on to a larger Archimedes screw, and it's just one of my favorite modules to just stare at and get mesmerized. As the
day goes on and you get more tired, you just kind of stare at that for hours.
I know better than to look at that after a long day, because I will be asleep. From there, we go to this module that's completely run on pneumatics. It has a motor, and your camera is probably not picking up the fact that that is a compressor moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And then the rest of the module is run off the compressed air, the series of pistons and pneumatic switches. From there, we go into a module that circulates the balls up on the inside and drops them out one at a time out here. This is done by the new conveyor belts, kind of made inside out into a loop. Once we leave there, we go on to a module which is a different kind of a stepper. I guess it's really not a stepper, it's the pushing the balls up the steps. So it's not really stepping up, but it's pushing them up. Yeah. And this one is noisy. Anyway, move on from there to a small stepper motor, a single step module, which then feeds into this module, which I call the Salmon Run. And it's a bunch of little ball poppers all in a row, and the balls pop up, and they're supposed to be in sync, but apparently the one at the top wants to go first. And I can adjust that and see if we can get it back in sync, or I can break it, or we can just keep going.
There's a fine line between adjusting and breaking it.
Yes, we cross that line often. So once we get around the corner here, this dumps into a sweeper type of module where it sweeps up in little stages up from one step to the next and eventually pushes it on to the next module, which is another small stepper, single step, to a pusher module. This module is infamous for the fact that it wears out this little 8-tooth gear very, very quickly. But now we have the new style in there, and I'm hoping it lasts a lot longer.
Yeah.
We'll see. So from there we go into the Ferris wheel. And the Ferris wheel is probably the module that hangs on to the balls the longest because it takes nearly a full minute for a ball to go all the way around it. And it comes out the other side. And once it comes out the other side, we go into another module that is on my list to replace. This is, again, a brick-built conveyor with square gears. And I'm also using the square gear to make the whole thing jump, to keep things from jamming. And it does a great job of not jamming, but that jumping causes the balls to jump out.
Oh,
so
okay.
A little bit of an issue.
Some lost there?
Yeah, they just fall out. You know, there's too much jumping going on. They just like to jump right out. From there we go into a simple conveyor, and this is actually running a long-term test, life test on these links. I had this same exact design where I used a smaller sprocket and started with brand new links, and after 25 hours they were useless.
Oh, wow.
So then I rebuilt the thing using the larger ones, and I'm in about 70, 80 hours, somewhere in there, and they're not even half worn.
Okay.
So but if you're going to use this kind of thing for a GBC, use the large sprockets.
Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip for sure. Then we go down this long ramp and on to the next module, which is a inverted spiral. The spiral, you got to get the shot in there because that's where the action is. The spiral is inside, and it's really kind of neat to watch it. Once the balls come out of there, they roll into a sweeper, which is this is a Philo design that's been copied and modified hundreds of times. From there we go to a tipping ramp, which is very slow, methodical, takes a batch of balls and rolls it out the other end. Now we get into a series of modules that are run by NXTs. So there's an NXT underneath here, you can't see it. It's basically driving this thing up and down to pick the balls up and then drop them out the top. And from there we go to this module which has pairs of, or two series of little scoops that flip up to each other. So it's really three different stages, right? The yellows flip up, the greens flip up, and then it loads some into the greens. And this is all done with an NXT and several motors and buttons. From there we move on to this module, and this is a copy of Steve Hassenplug's K8 design, but this is not a K8 box. Obviously, this is a little bit smaller, but same concept. The frame was built to fit inside the box. The module built in that. It makes packing up pretty quick and easy. You just open the box and drop it in, you're done. So, and from there we go to a stepper. And this is kind of a unique stepper in that it's a dual stepper, and there are two paths alternately running the balls up. And then from there we go into this big conveyor that goes way, way up and over our walkway, so that we can walk under here without crawling under tables. And it comes back down a series of ramps back and forth, a little spiral for the end, and back to where we started.
Very nice.
Well, this has been fun, guys.
Yeah, thank you for showing all that to us. Appreciate you walking us through that. That's fascinating to see the way that all works together.
Yeah, this is fun. This is, and the thing is that if you guys had come through and filmed like 2 hours ago, there would have been some different modules out. And had it been 2 hours prior to that, there would have been some different modules then. We've had a series of on-the-edge modules that we just said, all right, we're done with this one, and swapped it out with something that we thought would work better.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how many modules we have here. It's something like 60, but we kept changing it so many times that I don't know where we're at right now. With the video, you can go through and count them.
Yeah. Somebody will have to do that, but it keeps it interesting when you're switching modules out, so you come back later and it's something different.
Something different. Yeah. That's right. That's the goal. Keep it interesting, right?
That is really awesome. So, how many people contributed to this whole project?
Well, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 builders, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's right. 7 builders, about 60 modules. And it's been a long day. This is definitely one of the longer continuous runs that I've ever done. By the day's end, we'll be at 10 hours, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So, and we've had our share of problems, but overall, this is working fairly well. I mean, this is, in terms of reliability, the 10 years that GBC has been around, we've come a long way. But we still have a long way to go. I was able to actually sit down a couple of times today, which is not...
That's good.
Yeah, that's not something that happens very often. So I think we're in good shape. Good shape.
Sounds good. We really appreciate you taking us through that. Thank you.
You're welcome.